Good morning, students. So today I have come with a new chapter of geography, that is endogenous processes and associated landforms. The chapter name has already been mentioned, so let us see what is there in this chapter. Landforms. What are the different types of landforms, right? There are mountains, plains, right? Hilly areas, mountainous areas, and plain areas. This has been explained in this chapter. So first let us see what is endogenous processes. The landforms on the earth's surface are ever changing under the influence of the following two forces: endogenetic forces and exogenetic forces. So when we talk about endogenetic forces are those forces which is internal, got it, which is beneath the earth's surface or which is internal, and exogenetic forces are those forces which is external, which is above the earth's surface. What kind of disturbance that can be taken place above the earth's surface, that is known as the exogenetic forces. So endogenetic forces, these forces are generated in the interior of the earth. Mountains, plateau and plains are formed under the influence of endogenetic forces. They are also responsible for the occurrence of earthquake and volcanoes. The powerful internal forces operating from within the crust are called earth movement, both slow and sudden. Many areas either rise or subside due to the action of these forces. So let us see what is this endogenetic forces. Endogenetic forces are to be occurred in the interior of the earth or beneath the earth's surface. Understood? And here, this endogenetic forces, when it gets active, that is basically it directly hampers, it directly gets influence to the mountains, plain areas and the plateau areas. And this endogenetic forces is also responsible for the occurrence of volcanoes and earthquake. Many important changes have taken place on the surface of the earth under the influence of endogenetic forces. The Gondwana land started breaking about 120 million years ago. So when certain changes that occurs beneath the earth's surface, that basically is the result that we see on the earth's surface. So one of the example of this endogenetic forces is like Gondwana land that started breaking down about 120 million years back. So this was been taken place in 120 years million ago. So when this Gondwana land was it was breaking down, and that breaking down was been resulted through the occurrence or the disturbance that has been taken place on the or beneath the earth's surface. The effects of endogenetic process is clearly visible in many parts of India. The submergence of a forest in Mumbai harbor is one, and Mahabalipuram temple now standing in the sea, and the sinking of 5,000 square kilometer to the depth of 4 meter in Kana of Kanch in 1919, and the land of about 1,500 square kilometer raised several meter high are the Indian example of the unstable nature of our earth. So basically the effect of this endogenetic forces, got it? This endogenetic forces gives you many examples, visible examples in India itself, like the submergence of the forest in Mumbai, got it? Submergence of the forest in Mumbai, and rising with the sea level, with the height of the sea level. You can see the temple has raised up in 1819, you can see that the temple has been raised up from the sea level up to 1,500 square kilometer. So these are the basic examples, visible examples that you can see in India due to the effect of this endogenetic processes. So how these endogenetic processes are related with this landforms, got it? Let us see how it has been related with the different landforms, whether it can be in mountain areas, plateau areas, or the plain areas. So landforms associated with endogenous processes. Endogenous processes have given birth to a large variety of landforms on the surface of the earth. The landforms found on the earth's surface are divided into three orders. So this endogenous processes gave birth, got it? Gave birth to a large variety of landforms on the earth's surface. Understood? And there are also divisions of this land surface. So on the earth's surface, you can see that the land has been divided into three orders. So let us see what are those three orders. The first order landforms are continents and oceans. So the first order of the change or the landforms would be continents and oceans. This is also basically taken place because of the occurrence or the disturbance that have occurred on the that have occurred beneath the earth's surface, and that resulted as a continent and an ocean in a earth's surface. And the second order landforms are mountains, plateaus and plains. So second order, the second changes that have been taken place on the landform are the origination or the formation of the mountainous areas, plateau areas and the plain areas, while the third order landform includes mountain sections, hill, valley, deltas, etc. So you can see that there are three orders been taken place with the occurrence or with the disturbance that have been taken place beneath the earth's surface. First order can be the continents and the ocean. Second order can be mountains, plateaus and plains. And the third order can be mountain sections, whether it can be in a hilly areas, right? It can be taken place in the valley regions or deltas. So let us see what is this mountains is all about. An uplifted part of the earth which stands above the surrounding areas is called as mountains. So basically what is mountain? Mountains are an upliftment part. Got it? It is the uplifted part on the earth's surface which covers the surrounding areas. Are known as mountains. According to Professor Pinch, a mountain is that land block whose height is at least 900 meters above the sea level, and its slope makes an angle of 25 degree to 35 degree with the horizontal plane. So basically one of the professor have defined what is mountain, right? Mountain, in his point of view, he has said that a mountain is a land block whose height, got it? Whose height has to be at least 900 meter above the sea level, and the angle of that mountain areas has to be 25 to 35 degree within the horizontal plane. And like classification of now mountains, there are certain classification of mountains. So let us see what is the classification of mountains. There are several types of mountains are found on the surface of the earth. No two mountains are identical. Mountains differ from one another in respect to their age, height, location, process of formation, shape, structure, etc. So there are several types of mountains, got it? But that several types of mountains, it differ with one another. It is not similar. Might be there is a differences with the age. There is a differences with the shape of it. There is a differences with the location of it, or the formation, how this mountain was been formed. That can be the differences. So you can see that mountains in different areas or the different region, they have their own characteristics. They are not totally similar with one another. They differ with one another. So the first, this type of mountain is like fold mountain. Fold mountain have been formed due to folding of sedimentary rock strata. It is believed that there were narrow, elongated, shallow sea or lake basin in which huge amount of sediments were deposited. So here it has been mentioned that fold mountain is one type of mountain where this fold mountain are been formed due to the folding of sedimentary rocks. Got it? Due to the folding of sedimentary rocks, and it is also believed that there are shallow, elongated is like it has been stretched, understood? Elongated shallow sea or lake basin in which huge amount of sediments are deposited. So fold mountain has its characteristics of depositing sediments in a very huge amount. And like the lateral, when we talk about this fold mountain can also be taken place. Got it? It can also be taken place when the disturbance have been taken place beneath the earth's surface as an plate tectonic. Beneath the earth's surface, there are several plate tectonics, and that plate tectonics, when they collide with each other, whereas we basically say that when the collision of the plate tectonics have been taken place, that gives a vibration on the earth's surface, right? So that vibration is termed as an earthquake. So at the same time, if this vibration is for a very longer period of time, even the formation of the mountains can be taken place. So here in this fold mountain, this plate tectonic also plays a very important role in the formation of this fold mountain. The lateral tectonic forces cause fold can either work from both the sides of the geosyncline, or one edge may be stable and the other is moving, which may squeeze the sediments. So basically, as I've already said, that tectonic plates is one of the factor to the formation of this fold mountain. This can be taken place from both the side. It can be taken place from the geosyncline, got it? And it can be taken place for the movement of that mountain, how elongated it can be taken place, how elongated it can be. So that has been termed in this fold mountain. So let us see what is now plate tectonic. Plate tectonic theory. The latest theory in the formation of fold mountain is that of plate tectonic. According to this theory, the whole earth have been divided into 6 major plates. So there are 6 major plates, or the plate tectonics, which is there beneath the earth's surface. And this is one of the latest theory to the formation of fold mountains. And according to this theory, got it? The whole earth is been divided into this 6 plate tectonics. So let us see what are the 6 plate tectonics. First is Pacific plates, Eurasian plates, American plates, African plates, Australian plates, and Antarctic plates. So these are the 6 major plates. Got it? These are the 6 major plates, and these are said to be the 6 major plates, and there are also 18 minor plates. Got it? There are also 18 minor plates. Each plate consists of the crust and upper mantle extending to 100 kilometers of depth on the Earth's surface. On collision of one plate with another, their edge had shift up into great mountain ranges. So I have already explained you, when this major plate tectonic, when the collision has been taken place, beneath the Earth's surface, these plates, got it? When they collide with each other, there is also said that there can be a chance of occurrence or the formation of the great mountain ranges also. So the other thing that has been mentioned here is like the next type of mountains, that is block mountain. These mountains are formed due to fault caused by tensional forces, and intense folding of rocks is generally followed by faulting of strata due to horizontal force of tension. The land between the two parallel faults either rise, forming block mountains, or host or subside into a depression termed as Rift Valley. So here you can see that this is another type of mountain, that is block mountain. So this block mountain has been formed. Whenever the mountain has been formed, there has to be something or the other occurrence. Due to that occurrence, the mountains are to be formed, right? So here, when we talk about this block mountain has been formed due to the faults caused by the tensional forces. Got it? That the gap between the mountains, you can see sometimes the gap between the mountains, that is being said as the block mountains. And intense faulting, got it? The intense folding of the rocks, those sedimentary rocks, when it gets folded out, and that is basically followed to be termed as a fault or fault strata in the horizontal force. Got it? And that faulting of the mountains it gives a different formation of the mountains, and that different formation is known as the block mountains. So next types of mountains is volcanic mountain. Volcanic mountain, it basically termed by the word volcanic, right? The mountains formed as a result of volcanic activity is known as volcanic mountain. At the time of volcanic eruption, lava is thrown out and deposited around the crater to form a mountain. So whenever in the mountainous areas, when the eruption of the volcano has been taken place, and when those eruption has been taken place, lava, it basically, when the eruption is taken place, what comes out? Lavas comes out, right? And that lava has been deposited. Got it? That lava has been deposited, and then the formation of this volcanic mountain takes place. So the next type of mountain, that is residual or dissected mountain. They own their present form due to erosion of different agencies such as river, wind, glaciers, etc. That is why they are known as Rilland mountains. Rilland mountains, they have been worn down from previously existing elevated land, hills like Nilgiris, Raj Mahal in India are the example of this. But Nilgiris got their present height as a result of subsequent uplift. So the next type of mountain, that is residual mountain or dissected mountain. So this residual mountain or dissected mountain is been taken place. It has been formed due to the erosional process. Due to the erosional process, this residual mountains has been taken place. And what is the erosional process or the agencies that are water, that is rain or the rivers or wind or glaciers? Got it? This river, wind, glacier also plays an active role when the formation of the mountains are been taken place. This is basically the agencies when erosional process has been taken place. These are the different agencies which helps in the formation of the residual or dissected mountains. So next landform is plateau. A plateau is an elevated area as compared to its surrounding areas. In contrast to mountain, it has a large area on its top and has flat or undulating surface. Its sides are marked by a steep cliff, except in a mountain which is surrounded by high mountains. Plateaus which are surrounded by high mountains. It is therefore termed as table land. So, what is plateau? Plateau is all about elevated land. Got it? When compared to the other, where compared as its surrounding areas, and the formation of this plateau is been taken place when the large area on its top has a flat undulating surface, and this plateau is also known as table land because it has a flat land. Understood? When that flat land is basically covered by the high mountains, got it? When the flat land is covered by the high mountains, then it is known as the table land. And one of the person has been defined this plateau according to P.G. Worcester. He have defined the plateau. The plateau are highlands underlined by uplifted horizontal strata. The uplift takes place along the sides of the plateaus. So basically, this plateaus are basically how we can, in our layman words, we can describe that plateau is basically a flat land which has been surrounded by high mountains, which has been surrounded by the high mountains. Those areas or those places are known as plateau. Now, the rocks of a plateau are layered with sandstones and limestones. It is this arrangement of a strata which gives it a large even surface. But an inclined or a tidal strata may also become flat through continuous wearing down. So basically, plateaus are formed with the several layers of the rocks. Got it? Several layers of the rocks gives the formation of a plateau, and that layers of a rocks can be sandstone or limestone. Understood? And that formation, that layer of the sandstone and limestone gives a flat land. Understood? And that is basically said that the layers of the rocks gives a formation, or it can be created as a flat land, and that is basically termed as a plateau. Normally, plateau has elevation which is less than a mountain and more than a plain. When we talk about the elevation of this plateaus, they have a very less elevation when we compare to the mountains, but higher than the plains. When we talk about the elevation, is basically the height of the height or the areas, how much it covers. That is basically when we talk about, when we compare with the mountain, it is less. Got it? It is less than a mountains but higher than a plains. So the classification of this plateau, so there are different classifications of this plateau which has been classified on the basis. This classification is done on the basis of their situation, height or a shape or structure, origin and climate. So classification of this plateau is been taken place on the basis of situation, shape, structure and climatic changes. First classification of this plateau is intermontane plateaus. The plateau which are partly or fully enclosed by mountains is known as intermontane plateaus. So the plateaus which are very much enclosed, towards the mountains is known as intermontane plateaus. Next comes the Piedmont Plateau. Situated at the foot of the mountains, they are bounded by on the opposite side of a plain or an ocean. This plateau, the plateau of Patagonia in Argentina is said to be an important example of Piedmont Plateau. So Piedmont Plateau is situated, it is basically situated in the foot of the mountains, and it is very much opposite side. It gives an opposite, when it looks like the opposite side would be by the plain areas or the ocean areas or the ocean coverage. Third important classification of this plateau is continental plateau. These plateaus are surrounded by sea or plain from all the sides. They are the result of continental uplift and are quite vast. The plateaus of Brazil, South Africa, South India are important example of continental plateaus. So when we talk about continental plateaus, the characteristics of this continental plateaus are, these plateaus are basically surrounded by sea or plain from all the sides. Got it? This plateau is totally surrounded by sea or plains from all the sides, and the best example of this plateau can be of Brazil, South Africa and South India. And when we talk about this plateau, this continental plateau, it is said that it is quite vast. It is quite wide. Understood? So this type of plateau is known as the continental plateaus. So last comes the plains, right? So when we talk about this plains, a relatively flat or a low-lying land surface with least differences between its highest and lowest point is called a plain. So basically plain is all about a flat land. Plain is also basically a flat land, right? But here this plain is been described, or it has been said, it has been defined in a way that least differences can be seen in this plain areas when we talk about its highest point and the lowest point. When we talk about the plain areas highest point and the lowest point, you can see that in the highest and lowest point there is a very least differences of a plain. Understood? This is also basically a flat land. But here one of the characteristics how it has been defined is like that is a least differences you can see in the highest and the lowest point, that is known as the plain. So this plain, characteristics of this plain is clear from some of the definition listed below. So let us see what are the definition given by different people. So plain have low relief and have more flat land than slope. So the one of the characteristics of this plain has been defined here is like low relief. Low relief have more flat land than a slope area. Slope areas, where do we find slope areas? Basically, slope areas are to be seen in the mountainous areas or hilly areas where you can see the steep or the slopes of roads. When we talk just about the roads also, when we compare the mountainous places and the plain areas, you can see the comparison there. Plain areas or the roads of the plain areas are very plain, or there will be hardly turnings, right? But in the mountainous areas, you can see that steep areas or the steep roads are there, slope roads are there, and even there are large number of turns in the roads. So next, this characteristics define this plain is plains are lowlands of low relief, underlain by horizontal strata. So there also it has been low relief. Here low relief is said to be defined in this plain, where the low relief comes with a very least differences with the highest point and the lowest point. Most plains of the world are flat lowlands, but some of them may be rolling plains while other may be located at a much higher elevation. A plain may be as low as 30 meters to the east of Mississippi River, near the Appalachian ranges as high as 1,500 meters above the sea level to the west of a river. So basically, when we talk about most of the plain areas in the world, is like they are basically rolling in the plain areas, where it can be with the higher elevation also, and it can be with the lower elevation. When we talk about lower elevation, it can be as low as how much? 30 meters. Got it? It can be lower as the 30 meters, but when we talk about the high elevation, it can be higher than 1,500 meters. So let us see the classification of these plains. Classification of plain is been taken place according to their position and surface relief. Got it? This classification of this plain has been done looking after the position, got it? Considering with the position and surface of a relief features. So first classification of this plain is structural plains. These plains are also known as coastal plains and are normally formed by the uplift of the continental shift. The coastal plains lying between the Appalachian, Piedmont Plateau and the Atlantic coast of southeastern United States is an example of uplifted coastal plains. Here the structural plains, got it? This is one of the classification of plains, which is also known as coastal plains. The structural plain is also known as the coastal plains, and this has been taken place due to the uplift of the continental shift. So there is certain upliftment when it has been seen. Only then the structural or the coastal plains are being taken place. So the next classification of these plains is erosional plains. These plains are also known as destructional plains. They have been formed as a result of erosion of some elevated tract of land such as mountains, a hill or a plateau. So erosional plains is also, it has another name that is also known as destructional plains, and this is formed, this erosional plain or the destructional plain is been formed by the result of erosion that has been taken place in the mountainous areas, in a hill areas or a plateau areas. And again, this erosional plain are been divided into 3 subsections. So let us see what is the first type of erosional plains, that is penny plains. Over long ages, the higher land is leveled down into a sort of plain. The surface is hardly smooth and form almost a plain termed as penny plains. So this penny plain is also the subdivision or the differences of this erosional plains that has been taken place years back. Got it? It has been taken place years back when a land is leveled as a plain. Got it? When the land gives a formation of a plain areas, and suddenly that plain areas was been smoothing. Got it? It is hardly smooth, and that plain areas are termed to be as penny plains. Kant plains, the underground water dissolve rocks in a limestone areas. These result in the formation of limestone areas, and a Kant plain is formed. So this Kant plain is formed when the underground water is been dissolved. When that water is been dissolved in a limestone. Got it? When the water has been totally dissolved in a limestone areas, and that dissolution process that has been taken place, and again that dissolution process is been resulted by the erosion. Got it? It has been taken place through the erosion process, and then the formation of this Kant plain has been formed. And third classification of this erosional plains is like plain of glacial erosion. Vast areas of land were covered by ice in an ice age, which eroded highlands to form plains. Even today, glaciers are eroding uplands on a large scale, resulting in the formation of plains of a glacial erosion. Such plains are found in Canada, Finland. These are the different places where you can find this glacial erosion plains. So this plains of glacial erosion is like vast area of land. Got it? A wide area of land which is basically covered by the snow. That snow would not remain as it is, or the ice would not remain as it is, right? It would melt down, and that melting process can be eroded in the highland areas, and the formation of the plain can be taken place. And even today also, glaciers will not remain as it is, right? And you can see in the recent scenario, you can see that due to the overpollution, got it? Due to overpollution, you can see that the glaciers is melting day by day. It is not as it is what it was before. It is melting. So that can be the formation, that can be one of the classification of erosional plains. So next type of plains are depositional plains, also known as constructional plains. The depositional plains are formed as a result of deposition of a material in lowlands such as depression, lakes, and sea floor. Most plains of the world are depositional plains. The depositional plain is mainly done by river, glacier, wind, sea waves, and volcanic eruption. So deposition word itself describes, right? Something to be deposited, right? So depositional plains is also known as constructional plains. And this depositional plains are to be formed. Got it? The depositional plains are to be formed with the deposition of different materials. With the deposition of different materials as a depression, lake and sea floors. And this depositional plains are said to be, most plains in the world are, most of the plains areas in the world are depositional plains. That depositional plains, how it has been taken place? When the materials are been deposited, right? And then the formation of the plain areas have been taken place. So that kind of plain areas is known as depositional plains. And this depositional plain is also depending upon the different agents of deposition. So what are those different agents now? First agent can be alluvial plains. The plain formed by the depositional work of river are known as alluvial plains. Finch has divided these plains in three categories. So alluvial plain is basically the plain which has been deposited when the depositional work of a river has been taken place, that is known as alluvial plains. And this plain has also been categorized into three ways. So let us see what are those three categories. Piedmont alluvial fans or Bunger, fold plains and delta plains. So here this alluvial plain is also been divided into three categories, and that three categories are Piedmont alluvial fans or Bunger. Second comes the fold plains and the delta plains. And next, agent of this depositional plain can be drift plains. The plains formed by the depositional work of glaciers are known as drift plains. So this drift plains comes under the depositional plains. Got it? And this drift plains are to be formed. Got it? This drift plains are to be formed with the depositional work that has been taken place in the glaciers. When this depositional work of glacier is been taken place, only then this drift plains can be formed. So there are three types of drift plains. So what are these three types of drift plains are? Till plains have been formed by the deposition underneath the ice. Second comes the marginal moraine are formed by the deposition at the edge of the glacier, and outwash plains are formed due to the glaciofubal sill starting the end of a melting ice. So these are the three types of drift plains where till plain is basically formed underneath the ice. Marginal moraine has been formed when the deposition at the edge of a glacier has been taken place. Outwash plains are when it has been formed when the glaciofubal has been taken place when it is in the melting stage. So next, this depositional plain can be Lacustrine plains. Deposition of sediments in the lake basin gives rise to the old lake plain is known as Lacustrine Basin. The valley of Kashmir, the Imphal Basin in the Manipur hills are the example of this. The fertile soil of these areas have made them areas of good agriculture and thick population within the mountains. So this plain is been formed with the deposition of sediments in the lake basin. Mentioned it has been point. Remember that this plains are been taken place with the deposition of the sediments, but in a this lake basin areas. And the best example of this plains is like the Valley of Kashmir. Got it? The Valley of Kashmir and the Imphal plain in Manipur is said to be one of the best. These are the best example of this plains. And even in this plain area, you can see the soil is very fertile. And when the soil is very fertile, you know that agricultural works in a very profitable manner. So that is why among all the mountainous areas, got it? All the mountainous areas, you can see that a very thick population has been noted. It has been reported till date in this Kashmir areas and the this Manipur areas. Next, depositional plains can be loess plains. Loess plains are formed by the depositional work of wind. So this plain has been formed by the depositional work that has been taken place by the wind. Wind carries very fine dust particles, which is known as loess, from urban surface of interior desert of adjoining areas. And this is the best example of this loess plain is in the West Rajasthan and northwestern China. So here this loess plain has been formed with the depositional work of wind. As you all know, wind blows, right? So while blowing of the wind, you can see that very fine, which cannot be visible by our eyes, which cannot be visible with our naked eyes, that fine particles are being blown from one area to another area, and that is basically deposited in the desert areas adjoining with the areas of the deserts. Got it? In the desert areas, basically you can see a very dry land in the desert areas, right? So there when the wind is blowing, right? When the wind is blowing, we cannot see that fine particles moving from one place to another. And this formation has been taken place with the help of the depositional work done by the winds. Next type of depositional plains can be coastal plains. The coastal plains are formed due to the depositional work of sea waves which drive the beach material landwards. It results in the formation of marine slab, mud flats and tidal lowlands. A good portion of the coastal plains is Berlin, Netherlands are the examples of plain emerging as a result of deposition. So coastal plains, this is also one type of depositional plains. Coastal plains are to be formed with the depositional work that has been taken place in the sea waves. And you can see that in the sea waves there are different marine areas or mud flat areas, right? That is basically taken place with the depositional work of sea waves. And it also gives a coastal plain areas. Next type of depositional plains are lava plains. When the lava erupting out of volcano in thin, it spreads over a vast area and the formation of lava plain, which gives a formation of lava plains. So lava plains, lava itself, you can just remember that lava plains is all about when the eruption of the volcanoes have been taken place, and that erupting of volcanoes has been the lavas it comes out, right? And that coming out of lava when the volcano eruption has been taken place, those lava are very thin, right? It is very thin. That is why it can spread for a very vast areas. It can spread out for a very large areas, and then the formation of lava plains can be taken place. So we can see that in this chapter, that is endogenous processes and associated landforms, where we have discussed about the different types of land or what are the classifications of it. So when we talk about endogenous word itself, it is basically the interior, changes, right? The interior changes that has been taken place, and that interior changes how it has affected on the landforms, whether it can be in the mountain areas, whether it can be in the plain areas, or whether it can be in the plateau areas. So in this way, I have completed with the chapter. Thank you so much.